And just about the health and well-being side of things, understanding money is really, really important for financial health. But it also plays a part in your physical health and your mental health. So what I call that is the trio of wellness. And the reason why I think it's a trio is because and without getting into the medical side of things, so there may be, technical medical reasons why your physical health may not be where it needs to be or where you would want it to be. But if we talk about, how you eat and whether you get enough exercise, things that are within your control generally, if your finances aren't where it needs to be, potentially you can't afford to buy the organic food or the field reared meat or the sun ripened fruits and veg and all the rest of it. So, and likewise, you may not be able to afford, your disposable income may not afford you to go to that gym that's in your local area, because actually you can't afford an extra 40, 50 pounds a month. Otherwise that will have to come from somewhere else. So understanding how that affects your understanding how finances affect your physical health is important. And what happens as a result is, if you're not eating well, we know the type of foods you eat can affect your mental health and your emotions and your mood. So that can affect that, and that your mood and your emotions can then affect the people around you. And then we've got the circle. If your mental health isn't right, then actually you may not be forthcoming with managing your debt or your finances, because actually I'm afraid, I'm embarrassed, I'm ashamed, or I just can't face it. I just don't want to tackle that. It's just going to stress me out. It's going to push me over the edge. And if you're not managing your financial health, again, that affects your physical health. And this is that cycle. So it's really important to note how they all interlink. And I think there's been a lot of work historically on physical health. More recently, over the past 4 or 5 years, there's been a lot of focus on mental health. We're now starting to see more conversations around financial health, because again, they all play a key part in each other. I don't think you can have really one without the other, because they're completely interlinked. And this is one of the reasons why, again, I'm really proactive in encouraging people to understand money, get that support that they need, whether that's through charities or through professionals such as myself. There is help out there. Absolutely don't suffer in silence.
We haven't talked about health and well-being for you personally. So I ask all of my guests this on the Dawn Jarvis show, and it's related to the fact that I'm a nurse and I'm really interested in entrepreneur and business owners' health and well-being. So the question is, how do you manage your own health and well-being? You're a busy man, you're a father of 4, you've got a lot going on, and in addition to that, how do you manage to stay focused, positive and productive in these busy times?
Oh gosh, please don't list all the responsibilities I've got again. Just say it, just say no, it's a really, really good question, actually, because as part of my role as a mentor, I help people to build their mental health space, and how they can make themselves feel better in that way. Wow. So I think for me, somebody that mentored me once told me, and this is part of the advice I often give people, when you think about who you are or what makes you you, there are generally 3 spaces that we spend our time. And those spaces are at work. You spend a lot of time at work, right? 8 hours, 9 hours, and for some people more. When you're at work, you're Dawn Jarvis, the entrepreneur, you're Dawn Jarvis, the manager, the coach, the leader, you might be the admin clerk, you may be the customer service officer. That's who you are, but that's not really who you are as an individual, right? The second space we spend time is at home. I know a lot of that time is sleeping, but the other time is you might be at home as Calvin Cowell, daddy, husband, son to my mother, you know, and you play that role. You don't play the role, but you're involved in that role. You're activist in that role. And as a role, in that role, you have lots of responsibilities. You have lots of duties that you have to manage to you know, get through that day. The other space that we should and we don't spend enough time in is the space that makes us who we are. So this is a third space. A lot of people, before becoming dad, husband, wife, mother, the clerk, the manager, the admin assistant, whoever they are, once used to enjoy doing something. And for everyone, it's different. So for some people, might be playing Monopoly. We spoke about Monopoly earlier, and you know, you got a buzz from that. You got a thrill from engaging in a team activity and building the bond with people. For other people, maybe going to the gym and just getting that release, or going to play football with your friends on the weekend, and maybe going shopping on the weekends, and maybe you know, playing video games. I can't tell you how many men, especially, tell me they used to love playing video games, but because they became a father, because they got married, they didn't want to be seen to be, or because they got senior position, they don't want to talk about the fact that they play. I play video games, and I'm on Call of Duty. So if anyone wants to see me online, come see me on Call of Duty. We'll see. You know, we'll have to check out what's going on there. But people are afraid to admit that they do that, or sometimes they even avoid doing it because they don't want to be seen as whatever, when actually they really enjoy that. So I would, and I live by my own values, so I'd really encourage people to find that third space, because it absolutely gives you a breakaway. It allows you to be you. It just allows you to be free again. Step away from the roles of dad, mum, sister, brother, uncle, you know, care and duties, manager, CEO, whatever your role may be, and just do what you enjoy doing. And what I find is that, and this is certainly the same for me, if you spend too much time in one space, it's not great. So there's got to be balance. So if I'm playing video games all the time and I'm not looking after the family, that's a problem, right?
Yeah, sure. If
I'm working all the time, but I'm not spending enough time in my own space, that's a problem as well. That affects your mental health. Likewise, if I'm dad all the time, but I'm not doing enough to make money, or I'm not, again, spend that time in a space where I can just go and shout at some people running across the pitch, you know, kicking, or when my team wins, and just shouting with euphoria. For me, that's a problem. And this is when mental health can creep in, because you then find your life to be monotonous. You then find that you're not operating at your best. And that's whether you're operating at your best as a family person, or, and by family, I don't just mean, you know, if you're a parent, etc. It could just be your social life, what you do with your friends. You may have good friends that you know, you've got a real tight click with, and that's okay. But if you're not operating at your best because you're not spending the time doing stuff that you enjoy, just you, not you're doing it because somebody next to you likes it, but stuff that you like to do, that's a problem. So it's all got to be balanced. And far too often we spend a lot of time at work, we spend, and the rest of the time's at home in that role, without spending the time in that third space. So I'd encourage everyone to just think about what that third space looks like. And hey, don't worry about what anyone else thinks about it. If you like dressing up and putting on makeup and just going for a walk, that's okay. If it's going to play football with your friends, playing on the PlayStation, whatever it might be, that's also okay. That's you time, that's your space. And let nobody interfere with your space. But everything has to be in balance. Too much of any one of those becomes a problem, because it affects the environment for the other two as well. And that would be that's what I do. And that's the advice I would give anyone that I mentor as well. So, but really interesting question, because I don't think we get asked that enough. You know, what are you doing to manage your mental health? And that's a brilliant question. Good.
And your focus and productivity and positivity, how do you manage that?
Focus, yeah, again, I'm just going to go back to the same thing. I think it's For me, it's about planning.
Yeah.
I always set myself goals.
Yeah.
And generally they're long-term goals, but I also have shorter goals as well. So I'm thinking, okay, 3 years from now, this is where I want to be. But okay, this year, definitely I've got to achieve this, that, and the other, because without that, I can't move on to the next phase. So, and this is going to sound really, really cheesy. So forgive me, and forgive me to all the listeners.
I will forgive you.
But this is the way I do it, and everyone's different. But I set New Year's resolutions.
Oh, cool. I like that.
But I always achieve my resolutions.
Yeah, that's the difference, isn't it? That
Yeah,
is the difference.
I don't make them. I don't set unrealistic resolutions. Right, I'm gonna get £1 million this year. This is the year I'm gonna get that £1 million. Or you know, this is the year I'm gonna get that CEO role. I will set resolutions based on what's within my control, so that I know I can do it.
Yeah.
For example, okay, I'm going to go to the gym 3 times a week this year. I only went twice a week last year. This year, I'm going to step it up. I'm going to get fitter. I'm going to go 3 times a week this year. I can do that, right?
Yeah.
That's within my control. I can absolutely do that. Another example of a resolution may be, I'm going to spend more time with the kids this year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm often in the room with them, but I'm talking about spending time with them. Doing those boring things that I know they like, but I may not necessarily like it, but actually I don't spend enough time with them. So I'm going to spend more time. Enough time, maybe an extra hour a day, an extra hour a week, but I'm going to spend more quality time with the children.
Brilliant. I love that.
My resolutions are always goals within my control. They're always goals based on what I think would, you know, the 3 areas we spoke about would make that better. Mm-hmm. And they're always goals that will make me better as a person. But I always set them, and I always reflect on the year that's been and think about, okay, what does a good next year or forthcoming year look like for me? Okay, well, for me, you know, I'd like to do more stuff with podcasts.
Yeah. Cool.
You know, so it just individually, you know, what you want to achieve, but just make it realistic. But that's what I do, and it seems to be paying off so far.
That's brilliant. What I like about that is that, what you said has been about being realistic, and also what I also like is that you can actually measure whether you've been successful at that stuff, which I think is the key with any goal or resolution. You know, how will you know when you've been successful, and you know what does success look like? So I really, really like that.